I was hired into the dumping area of the slaughterhouse. The trucks unload their transport crates, and then all the birds are dumped out of them onto a conveyor belt. I was one of the people who operated the machine that tips the crates over to dump the birds. The whole process is horrible. The birds come in all covered in feces and dirt. A lot of them had these burns on their bodies from the ammonia fumes that fill the air of the factory farms they come from. A lot of the cages were mangled and bent out of shape. The birds would regularly get caught in them. A lot of the birds' legs and wings would break when they were dumped out, and they'd flap and they'd scream in pain. The worst part about it was knowing that this stage in the slaughter process wasn't as bad for the animals as the later stages. Dozens of them being scalded to death in tanks that are supposed to remove their feathers after they're dead. And worse. Working in the slaughterhouse was awful. The air was thick with feces and debris. The lighting was kept at a bare minimum because the birds are scared. I guess the low lighting calmed them. So it was always hard to see. The birds flap around and they vomit on workers and they claw and they peck at them. They're just so scared and frenzied the entire time. It was a horrible experience for me. As bad as it was, I can't imagine what it's like for the hundreds and thousands of birds coming through there every day. I might have had a hard time breathing and seeing, but at least I wasn't having my legs broken, my limbs torn off my body. One worker told me that everybody there kicks the birds, including the supervisors. He told me that if you've been there long enough, you can pretty much get away with whatever you want. See guys throw birds around and kick them. One time, a worker sprayed a high-intensity hose at a bunch of birds for no reason other than to hurt them. Fortunately, I wasn't in the part of the slaughterhouse where the most abuse happens. What I saw was still awful, and it's going to haunt me forever. I'll never forget those birds. It was so hard to play a role in their death every day. Work the machines that sent them to a violent slaughter. But I constantly remind myself that without footage of slaughterhouses and factory farms, people will never know the truth about the way that chickens and other animals are abused. The memories of the slaughterhouse are painful, but it's comforting to know that I've played a role in exposing and ending the abuse. On my first day, I watched one guy work for a little while. That was the extent of my training. It was by far the worst instructions I ever received for a job. You're basically just expected to pick it up from the others around you. Since slaughterhouse workers are known to abuse birds regularly, it's dangerous for somebody's only training to be observation. Making matters worse was the fact that no one would offer solutions to problems, not even the supervisors. There was constant yelling and screaming. People would get mad and frustrated when problems came up. They wouldn't offer any solution. The whole place was a mess. Paul McCartney once said that if slaughterhouses had glass walls, we'd all be vegetarian. And the fact is that slaughterhouses and factory farms are hidden away from the public light. They're down back roads in small towns. The only way people see farmed animals is usually as cartoons in ads. The public doesn't see what goes on. They don't see animals being mutilated without painkillers, being kicked and beaten by workers, having their throats slit while they're still conscious. They just see the nicely packaged end product without the gory history of the individual animal who's wrapped up. Basically, I became an investigator to bring to light all the abuse that happens to the animals before they end up in a freezer case or in a bucket, to give glass walls to the slaughterhouse.